I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. Your mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. And let me just start with this. Mercy comes even after the rubble. Shout out to the 50,000 refugees living in Egypt who want to return to their home in Gaza. I had coffee with our Palestinian friend, Sophia. She informed me that those refugees in Egypt are almost all women because Israel forced the surviving men to stay in Gaza, which explains why the videos we see are of grieving men. Lamentations was not written in comfort. Lamentations is not a success story. It was written in the wreckage. Jerusalem was destroyed. The temple was a pile of dust. The people were scattered, hungry, crying between tombs and torn walls. This was a people with every reason to give up. But right in the middle of that despair, the prophet interrupts the spiral and says, "But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope." Not because he saw hope, but because he remembered it. Sometimes all we have is memory. And Black memory is sacred. Memory is the first act of resurrection. It's how we stay whole when the world tries to break us apart. I remember my story. I remember my parents, my daddy and my mommy. I remember their story. And that memory, that sacred, heavy memory is mercy. It taught me what they carried. It taught me what I carry. And that sometimes mercy doesn't come after the victory. It comes in the endurance. Black memory is also political. Always has been a threat to empire. That's why enslavers made reading a crime, because to read was to know what was documented. Black people were whipped for trying to read the Bible, the very same Bible slaveholders used to justify their violence. But we sought revelation. We found Moses in those pages. We found Exodus. We found freedom. Our stories were passed not just through books, but through song, rhythm, and the coded language of survival, and somehow we survived. This mercy is new every morning. This mercy is our power. It is our mandate. You can find God's mercy in Black history, and it's global mercy. Dear ones, that's where we live, between the ruins and the rising. Because Black mercy is never just for Black people. It's a mercy that calls to the world. This survival story cannot be told without the story of indigenous endurance, of Caribbean perseverance, of African rebirth, and the experiences of our allies. So now hold on to this thought. These are not mere domestic issues. They are global wounds, and they demand global mercy. We are now part of a worldwide revival that empire cannot stop. This is why you never hear me use the word minorities to refer to Black and indigenous people. You always hear me say minoritized, because we were never minorities, we were minoritized. Before colonization, hear me, tens of millions of indigenous people lived across the Americas. Today, only a fraction of that number remain in their homelands. not by accident, but by design. That's not population loss, that's genocide. And over 12.5 million Africans were trafficked across the Atlantic. Only 10.7 million made it. But get this. If those African families, if their languages and nations had migrated here, arrived whole, then Black people would currently outnumber Europeans across the Western Hemisphere. So I'm going to ask you to use your imagination here. Imagine a world where migrants don't need to displace indigenous communities. In a scenario like this, the skin tones of people in what we call North America might resemble those of the residents of the Caribbean. So no, we were not the few, we were the silenced. We were the systematically subtracted. But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because what empire erased, God remembers. And what God remembers, God restores. The modern world was not built in Europe, but on the minerals, the mind, and the might of Africa. African gold built European empires. African labor built the Americas. African presence created the modern world. Europe's sin was not that Africa was backward, but that Africa was too rich. And Africa was targeted for its brilliance. And Africa is rising. This is resurrection. Pay attention to this. By 2050, 4 in 10 children on earth will be African. By 2100, 1 in 3 people on earth will be African. Nigeria alone will surpass most of Europe. That's not overpopulation. That's reparation by creation. That's resurrection. This, where we are living now, is the dawn of the third morning after the crucifixion of a continent. And the empire doesn't know what to do with resurrection. But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Even as the world changes, America refuses to repent. Alexis de Tocqueville saw it in 1835, a democracy that enslaved its own children. During World War II, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, Nazi Germany studied America's Jim Crow laws to design the Nuremberg codes. Today, the world watches again book bans, police killings, voting restrictions. Black women, especially professionals, are losing their jobs at an unheard of rate. Yeah, I know some of them. The same old hatred, just rebranded. And if not for international shame, it would be worse. Let's tell the truth. Civil rights came because America feared losing its moral cover in the Cold War. It wasn't conscience, it was embarrassment, the need for prestige. But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. The Black freedom movement of the 50s and the 60s was never just for America. Dr. King knew it when he spoke against the Vietnam War. SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, knew it when it linked arms with liberation movements across Africa and Latin America. The Black Panther Party knew it when they established connections with revolutionary movements worldwide, including support for the Vietnamese struggle against U.S. imperialism and solidarity with the Palestinian cause. And before all of them, there was Black Reconstruction, that radical moment after the Civil War when newly freed Black people didn't just dream of democracy, they built it. They formed schools, they voted en masse, they sent Black senators to Congress. But America could not abide free Black power. So they burned our towns, reversed our laws, and ushered in Jim Crow, all to bury the memory of what Black freedom could look like. Reconstruction didn't fail, it was sabotaged. And that sabotage, that backlash never stopped. But you all know something about these things. From Wilmington in 1898 to Tulsa in 1921 to redlining to mass incarceration, every black rise was met with white rage. And still we rise. Still we remember. The system is pretty comfortable with us voting, as long as voting is the only power we imagine. The system will celebrate us even running for office as long as we never run toward each other. Empire loves participation without transformation. And if we are to be true to the message and the hope of Jesus, we must remember Jesus did not come to patch up empire. He did not reform Caesar's courts or lobby for better laws. He walked with the poor, healed on the margins, taught a vision rooted in the underside of power. His prayer was not nationalist, it was global, cosmic, and liberating. On earth as it is in heaven wasn't about thrones, it was about justice. The Jesus that we follow didn't seek proximity to rulers. He exposed their violence. He didn't offer the world a kingdom in the imperial sense. He offered a new way of being, a beloved community, a just and sacred order, where the last shall be first and the first shall be last, where the earth is honored and the people no longer serve pharaohs. Jesus' message wasn't a seat at the table of Rome. It was a table where no one goes hungry. And that's still our call today. Many black churches, before they were middle classified, carried this gospel when the country would not. Church was not just a sanctuary, it was a headquarters of hope. From Mother Bethel to Dexter Avenue, from the praise houses of the islands to the storefront churches of Chicago, the black church kept the faith even when the cross was set on fire. The survival of the planet, the salvation of humanity, and the healing of creation will not come from empires, but from the peoples they tried to erase. The rise of Africa in population, power, and purpose is not a crisis, it's a correction. The modern world was not made in spite of Africa, and as indigenous nations reclaim sovereignty, language, land, and ceremony, the earth begins to breathe again. Together, the rebirth of Africa and the resurgence of indigenous peoples hold the keys, the sacred keys to restoring balance to a world poisoned by extraction. Their ways of being, rooted in relationship, reciprocity, and reverence, they are our roadmaps. The gospel calls us not to dominate the earth, but to heal it, not to subdue peoples, but to stand with them. For humanity to be saved, it will be by following the wisdom of those who never forgot how to live with the earth and never stopped believing that we were made to live with one another, not above each other. But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because only the people will save the people. Solo el pueblo salva al pueblo. Not our presidents, not foundations, not parties, certainly not corporations. Only the people will save the people. And the truth is, we've been saving each other. Whether the Underground Railroad or in strikes and boycotts, during the HIV crisis when no one else showed up, in Katrina when the government left us to drown, through the pandemic when Filipina, Latina, and Black nurses, mothers, and mutual aid groups kept us alive. Jesus said, those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will save it. That is what we have been doing together. I want to name that. Denying the ego that clutches. We're losing our lives for love and finding resurrection in the people. We're not waiting for rescue. We are the resurrection. Morning has come, not because the empire released us, but because truth refused to stay buried. The ancestors are whispering, The babies are being born. Africa is rising. Memory is waking up. The rubble is shaking with the resurrection. This I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. So this we must do. Stop calling people minorities. Stop waiting for American permission. Stop shrinking the gospel to fit national borders. Rise like the morning. You speak like the prophets. Sing like our mothers did. Organize like our freedom depends on it, because it does. Let's pray. God of our mothers and fathers, God of the Middle Passage and of the Great Migration, God of Africa and the Andes, the Bayou and the Black Church, let your morning rise with fire. Let your mercy shake the silence. Let your people remember what empire tried to erase. They tried to write us down in history with their bitter, twisted lies. They tried to tread us into the very dirt, but still like dust we rise. Did they want to see us broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by our soulful cries? Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, we rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, we rise. Bringing the gifts that our ancestors gave. We are the dream and the hope of the slave. We rise. We rise. We rise. Hello, Caroline.
Take off my serious glasses. Oh, that was so deep. It's funny. I was wondering, you say you have a cold, and I feel like we're all just on the edge of sort of, I don't know, exhaustion, like and it's sort of manifesting in just like illness or tiredness or something. And I don't know. I just when you said you had a cold, I was like, that feels so appropriate to me, that we're all just feeling it. I'm sort of curious, like, I was listening today and I was like, wow, you wrote for this exact moment. Like, I feel like the empire is tearing itself down around our ears, and it's up to us. Like, are we going to step in and really bring it down to the foundations, or are we going to let it rebuild itself the way it so often gets to rebuild itself? I don't know. I just feel this. Your words are such a call to just finally this time, like, we have to complete the teardown. We have to complete the destruction of this monstrous creation that of depravity. Um, but I don't know. Once again, so beautiful, so completely of the moment. And I'm definitely curious to hear. I know there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of thoughts. So who feels like sharing, or has an insight or an observation that they want to comment on? Linnea's unmuted.
Yes, just a quick comment. Pastor David, you remember back in early JC days, maybe around 2020, and I don't think Ernie's here, but she always used to say, wait for the rising. So your message just kind of reminded me of that prophecy.
Ernie always has some great sayings. I wish I
Yeah,
could hear.
yeah.
And I'm glad you're feeling better, Linnea.
Oh, thank you. And I'm glad you are.
Judith, you have
Yeah.
your hand up.
I do.
Oh, and then Bonnie next. Okay.
So I was incredibly sad, and I wasn't going to come today because I felt like I was just too sad. And so thank you, David. I'm still sad, but I feel more hope at the same time. I woke up to these messages from Mazen today about the vaporized people, 3,000 people who at least they know have been completely vaporized by the bombs that we now have, these thermonuclear bombs. And I had this image in my mind from a few days ago of this man sifting, like with a
Mm.
flour sifter, trying to find the remains of his loved one
Mm.
in Gaza in a tent. And I don't know what to do with all these feelings, you know, they just, like some of you were saying, immobilize me. And I don't want to be immobilized, but
Yeah.
your words help a lot for sure. Thank you for the hope.
Thank you, Judith. Bonnie, you had your hand up.
Yes. How do we get away from imperialism? What steps do we take other than protesting and all that? How do we literally change things?
Uh,
And I'm sorry, that's a very naive question.
No, it's not. I mean, it's the essential question, and
It's probably a question that you're not alone in pondering that. And for me, I would say that it is imagination. It is, as I reflected a little while ago, how if there would have been migration without dispossession and genocide, how we would be a very different society. And this is the very thing that the white fascists dread. They dread being outnumbered, which is why they have, they've tried to prevent it from happening. But, just going on basic statistics, indigenous people should be the largest population in the New World, and what's called the New World, and Africans would be a greater percentage than the descendants of Europeans, were it not for the brutality and the death, the breaking up and destruction of our legacies. But that's where our hope is. I mean, it's very possible that there'd be a lot fewer Christians. It's very possible, it's extremely conceivable that we would not be so heteronormative. Because we would have this mutual respect. I tell you what, it's very unlikely that we'd all be speaking English and Spanish. It would just be a very beautifully diverse bouquet of humanity.
I know. Oh, Julius. Hi, Julius.
I just wanted to quickly respond to Bonnie's question because it's so important. One of the things that have to happen in this current elite face of the resistance will need to change. When you talk about concrete things that need to happen, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are not built for the fight that we are in. Not the fight that's coming, the fight that's already upon us.
Yeah.
And I think about Cuba and the sacrifice of the Cuban people for the liberation of Africans. They didn't have to. And I think about Libya, where the forces of white supremacy, ironically led by a Black president, dropped bombs on an African country and killed an African leader in the most humiliating fashion. And not one African country came to Libya's aid. So when I talk about a need for a different elite leadership, this is a criticism of the continent's current leadership as it stands as well.
Mhm.
So I bring it back to Cuba, which sacrificed so much to liberate Angola. And in its time of need, Africans being led by Africans who are really neo-colonial puppets are, if they are doing something, they're doing a good job of keeping it secret, which I can understand. But the lack of African leadership to come to Cuba's aid is not shocking,
Hmm.
but extremely disappointing, which again points to the need for new leadership across the board. To do so will take great sacrifice on the level of the Chinese sacrifice during the Chinese Civil War, led by Mao Zedong.
Mhm.
Chinese versus Chinese to liberate China from the depraved colonizers.
Hmm.
The question is, are we willing to pay the price? Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that our imaginations have been debilitated. Somehow we think that, I'm not saying you or anybody in particular, but generally speaking, we think that this capitalistic, militaristic way of doing the world is the only way of doing it, and only the people will save the people.
Yeah. I
Is
mean, it's
that Michael's hand or Linnea's hand?
It's Michael's.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
We're sharing this room today. I'd like to respond to,
Go ahead.
I'd like to respond to Reverend Judith's question or expression. How do you deal with this sadness? What do you do about this sadness? We're all different. We're all different kind of individuals. We have these reactions. I don't know if my way of dealing with it that I want to talk to you about right now is going to be the same next week or tomorrow because things are changing so much. But right now, for me, the way I deal with it is I get in my damn car or sometimes on foot and I go into the barrio that we live right next door to and I look for those oppressors and I look for them and I want to get in their face and I want to document it. I want my video camera on. I want my camera snapshots on. I want to be able to talk to my colleagues, my comrades that are on signal, and they'll be over as soon as they can. And we make such a fuss. We take our anger and turn it into constructive fuss. And as crazy as it sounds, these agents of evil, these ICE agents, don't want to have a fuss. They're fastidious. So the more good trouble that we can give them, the more fuss, the more chaos. They leave our barrio and they leave our jail and they leave where they shouldn't be. And they go out there to where the rest of the rats live at the rat hole at the ICE headquarters. So just for me, for right now, I don't know if it's going to be the same tomorrow, but my sadness and my fear, I get channeled into putting my feet out there, and that's just for me.
Yeah, and the sadness doesn't necessarily go away, but it dissipates. I mean, getting out there and doing the food pantry, or like VC Defensa and most churches have a variety of ways you can jump in and help the people, the families that are just being broken up and devastated and impoverished massively by what's going on in our communities, and we don't think of ourselves as being near them. Like the people that live right here around us, they know there's a barrio over there, but it's right next door, and to them it's just a bunch of like people to be afraid of.
As excuse me, but as one of our neighbors said, and I felt like
When we-
actually slapping her. She said, "Those people, everything was okay until those
yeah,
people."
you
moved
just
in."
want to stay away from there.
not the classic, those people. I was going to
But
say,
what
because
you're
Bonnie,
doing, Linnea and Michael, what you're demonstrating is, that maxim, that solo pueblo salva al pueblo.
Yeah.
See.
can I jump in? Because I know last time, Bonnie, you'd asked like of ways that I guess, don't require a car to help. And I was thinking like a lot of these signal chats need sort of operators and conductors to actually consolidate information. So that might be something worth looking into if you're interested.
Can I piggyback on that, Caroline?
Yeah, sure.
I don't mean to talk so much, but Bonnie, in our signal chat, the various signal chats for VC Defensa, there's this woman, Edie, who is she's the archangel of all of us. She has databases. She's describing the cars that are in the field when they're going. You people that live up in North County and in Santa Barbara, Goleta, you get a 15-minute jump on when ice is going to be there because of Edie, because of our Edie showing those pictures and stuff. So, wow. Linnea has spent hours compiling the descriptions, pictures, and license plate numbers of 98 cars that are going to at some point be out here. You don't have to be walking around or driving.
It looks like we've got quite a few hands up, and I
And
think I
Diane
lost track
Fox
of
has had her
people.
hand up quite a
Okay.
while.
Diane
Yeah,
Fox.
Diane Fox.
Diane Fox, then Julia and Clint, and then Jade.
Okay, it's a simple thing. First of all, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Michael, Linnea, David, everybody who's spoken. I just wanted people to keep their eyes open for something called Sing Resistance. This comes out of Minneapolis, and it's going nationwide. And there's a group forming in Santa Barbara. There are groups forming lots of places to get together and sing. The singing from the 60s, I remember, is such a powerful driving force, and we're forming it now. So check wherever it is you're living. It should be coming to you.
Great.
Or you can help organize it.
So is that things like chanting during a rally, or is that what I'm hearing you say?
I don't know at all. I know that there are songs that, I certainly remember songs from the 60s that are still appropriate. I don't know. It's forming. And
I'll
go
look.
go online, click Sing Resistance. I just heard about it too late last night to do that myself, except to find out that something is happening here in Santa Barbara.
Great.
Clint?
I've got this.
Unsubscribe.
I've got this great idea for Bonnie, for Reverend Judith. Let me say something. This Sunday, what we're doing right here, that's plugging our cell phone in, which is us, to the battery. We're getting our recharge. We're getting good ideas on what to do. And this is what I do. So I got my phone, and what I'll do is look up good memes that are funny yet clever, and I have them on lock, ready to go for any time somebody decides to chime in with their white supremacy dumb shit. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and then put a link to some facts. Then I'll put the meme with the little meth pipe that says Fox News on it, and I say, I believe you dropped this. Humor is how I'm doing it, because the truth is, if facts aren't paid attention to, but I will not remain silent, and I will let them know you will not be tolerated on this page. I had somebody, Julia, she spoke last week, and she shared about her heritage, about being Puerto Rican and everything, right? And one of these, God bless them, somebody decided to chime in, and they forgot to take off their hood and their robe and the burning cross behind them. So what I went ahead and did was educated them. And you know what? It doesn't matter, because they probably won't listen anyway. At this point, we have a line that's been drawn, but what I won't do is remain silent. So I get a little bit of satisfaction. I'll text Pastor Moore and say, you know what? I'm losing my damn mind. I took a sick day from work the other day, not because I was sick, because I was sick of society. Because I couldn't fake it no more for a full day of work and try to act like I was cool with what's going on in the world. But mental health came back, and then I do some proactive things. God bless you. You know what, Linnea and Michael, you know what? That's what we need. If you're white and you don't know what to do, check this out. Get on your social media and start saying some shit.
Mhm.
Speak up.
Okay,
Speak up.
okay.
Quit being silent. That's what you
Okay.
need to do.
Mhm.
That's what I need to do. I'm sorry. That's all I got.
It helps.
Jade, you're up.
No need to apologize, my brother, because I'm feeling that. And I think sometimes humor, sometimes resonates with people more,
Mhm.
so everybody's got their little gift that they want to give.
Yeah.
And I was taught, I don't know if y'all remember, but they shut down Casa de la Raza for a moment. And they were saying it was because the building was condemned because this and that. And I'm like, you know what? I see right through that, because people were coming and donating things for our community, particularly, I'm going to say marginalized, I'm not going to say minority, in our community that were being impacted by ICE, and they were afraid to go out. And Oscar Gutierrez, as you know, has been doing a really good job of reminding us, well, the Casa's open again. And if you have, I'm going to tell you right now, I can go in my closet and take out half of what I don't wear. There are people who would gladly have a gently clean, warm sweatshirt to wear because they're afraid to go out and get something.
Mhm.
So you can go over to Casa, you can donate different foodstuffs, you can, or even the Unity shop, which is down the street from me. But Casa's been doing a really good job. They actually have runners that are going into the community and giving things to folks that are afraid to actually come out of their houses. So that's one thing that you can do. And then as for me, being the crazy white lady that I've been called so many times, which I'm totally okay with. For me, just very quickly, because I was telling in my group thing, I don't want to grandstand too much here, but like as a survivor myself of sexual battery and assault, and the things that I saw the highest attorney in our land not do, by acknowledging those women, by turning around and at least looking at them, by not saying I'm sorry, by not saying I will meet with you, that was a trigger for me. And so what I do in my practice, some of you know what I do for a living, the best thing that I can do in that regard is to really be a voice and an advocate for women in particular. I mean, men are abused too, but for me, the way I can do it, because it's something that I've been through, that I can tell them, and show them love and compassion, because these women need to be acknowledged. They need to be apologized to, and they need justice. And that's my way of helping, is to just pour into these people that just don't really know what else to do. Like Bad Bunny said, the only thing more powerful than hate is love. And that's where I'm going to end.
Rosie, I feel like Rosie would have probably has thoughts. You want to jump in?
Well, she's going to lead us in communion
Oh,
anyway.
she is? Okay, never mind. Who hasn't spoken up yet who'd like to contribute?
Just wanted to just say something about Scott, what Scott does. Can you open it?
Michael?
Oh, I just wanted to say, Scott and Barbara aren't here today, but what Scott does, two things are incredible. One is, of course, we're not all PhDs, and he is an articulate PhD, but the letters he writes and the columns that he writes for the newspaper, I think that's very powerful. And he also does that in terms of sending letters to legislators and things like that. And the other is, when Clint's joined him in this too, I believe, Clint, just standing there sometimes as one person in front of Vandenberg where nuclear weapons are stored. That's so powerful. Can you guys think about sometimes when you've driven somewhere and there's one lone dissenter out there, how powerful that is?
Yeah.
Thanks.
We had a little vigil in my town, maybe last weekend, where it was very brief. It was just a few priests and of different denominations. We read the names of everybody who'd been killed in ICE captivity or by ICE. And, it was just 15 people in front of the county town hall and it felt really meaningful, felt really profound. And then somebody pulled up in their pickup and said, I won't say it, I hope ICE kills all of you, you fill in the blanks. So clearly triggered some people, but it felt really good in the moment. Diane, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I think I've said this. I think you all know this, that every Saturday from 10 to 12 at the corner of State and Hitchcock, there are not just 15, but hundreds of people who come out. And I haven't had that negative reaction. I've seen so many people honking horns and giving us thumbs up for being there. So that's another simple thing, simple and energizing thing to do. That I can't remember if it was from this group, but the person who was standing in front during the Vietnam War, standing in front of the White House holding a candle, and somebody coming by and saying, you know, you're not changing anybody. And that person said, yeah, what I'm doing is not letting them change me. So,
Yeah.
Is it Sayuri or Kenichi wants to speak?
Thank you. Yeah, just to hear all this is just encouraging. You know, for me, I've realized that I'm a one-person being, and I know I cannot do everything as I thought I could when I was much younger. I just can't do everything. So what has helped to me is to identify areas that I can do, you know, considering my current life rhythm, and so forth. And so one thing I did this past Thursday, and I believe the Congress did block the funding to DHS and moving forward. And so on Thursday, I just simply put it on my in the employer's announcement. I didn't, you know, I thought, okay, let's just announce. I said, if you can, call your congressional leaders and you know, tell them, say no to ICE funding. And I said, they're disgrace. They're disgrace. They're inhumane. They're cruel. And then the whole thing blew up after that. And somebody said, Kenichi, you know, you made some tidal waves here. And I said, I didn't mean to, you know. And so, but anyway, it was just, I just wanted to share that with you guys. And also another point, you know, Judith, thank you so much for forwarding Mazin's email. I started getting his thing. What I can do is, what I feel that I can forward these messages on Gaza, on West Bank, on Syria, South Lebanon, Iran, what's all happening. I have taken out time as much as I'm able to put it out there, get the word out there as much as possible, and to do what I can. And if every one of us do that, I think as organism, we will cover a lot of base, because we are just one organism among so many in the world. And so I commit to do my part. So I just wanted to encourage, and I thank you for all the others who are doing various creative parts that you are able to do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. And well, let's go ahead and let Brigitte have the word before Rosie leads us in communion.
Okay.
Brigitte?
Yeah. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I saw something about, you know, how can really intelligent people who like graduated from Yale and, you know, Harvard and all this, how can they say things on TV that they know are absolutely wrong? I mean, it kind of mind, because you know these people are smart enough that they must know it's wrong. You know, they're saying something outlandish, and you're just like, how can that be? And an analysis I heard was that what these, you know, lawyerly trained people are doing is they say something outrageous, to see what the public reaction is going to be. If the public is tired and doesn't respond, or if people just don't care, or if people actually agree with them, and not much happens, then they figure, that flew. What else can I do? What can I get away with? Whereas if a lot of people respond, then they say, I'm just joking, of course. Don't get so serious about it. It's just I just said that, Anyways, I was getting tired. I'm a big letter writer. I write the president, I write the vice president, I write all my state people. I write them all the time. And I was getting tired. And when I heard that particular statement, I was like, I am not giving up. And I just want to encourage all of you, if you haven't actually tried it, I imagine this group you probably have, but you don't have to write a lot. You can just go to contact the White House and just say, I don't like what you said, or, and just, that's all you have to do. You don't have to make a big, well thought out, reasoned, blah, blah, blah. They probably get 8 million comments. I don't even know if they read them all. So just log where you're at, but don't give up, because when I heard that, I just thought, oh my goodness, I find myself falling into that, like, I can't address everything, but keep going, you guys.
That's a great reminder, Brigitte. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline, for launching this conversation. Thank you, everybody. And as I get ready to bring Rosie on, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, all of these, we've had so much input, valuable and important input from a number of U.S. sources. But I just want to repeat again, we need imagination. We need to be able to dream. We need to know what the world is supposed to look like, and embrace that and love that. And that's really where prayer begins, right? Your kingdom come, your will be done. Well, what is your will? What is your kingdom coming? What is that? What does that look like? And we don't have to settle for empire, but it has to be something that energizes us. This hope, this dream has to energize us. And even though it gets played out on the ground in a number of ways, we look at, Julius called our attention to Cuba. That's the reason that our country invaded Venezuela, to cut off the fuel supply to Cuba. Why? Because white Cubans, who are really Spaniards, like Marco Rubio, want to rule Cuba again. Because the whites left after the revolution. They in the 1959 to 1962, they left and they moved to Florida and New York and places like that. And they left black and brown people there, and they're offended, and they keep saying it's about communism. It's not about communism. It's about empire and racism. And
they want their plantations back.
They want their plantations back. And let's realize that we are a diverse and beautiful world, and we need to embrace it and to mourn what hasn't happened. Mourn the fact that we are divided like this, and mourn the fact that there are hierarchies and hegemonies and some people ruling over other people. We need to grieve that deeply. And then we will get the energy, because we'll dream, a new world. And that will sustain us when in the midst of our tiredness, because as Judith mentioned, Mazen, let's not pretend like what's happening to Palestinian isn't the effect of empire. Come on now. Rosie?
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry.
We see your grass, but that's about it.
Yeah. Okay, there. Okay. Gosh, this is so heavy and impactful in so many ways, because the stuff that's been brought up is just it's heavy. It's heavy. I just want to share just a couple of things before I say communion. And one of them is that Bonnie, you are doing what you need to be doing right where you are doing it. So, sister, remain strong. Brigitta, just because a person has a degree from fucking Yale or Harvard or Columbia, or it doesn't matter where the hell it's from, does not mean they're any quote unquote smarter or intelligent. It just goes to show the reality of the fact that these are just papers, certificates, degrees of where the individual has put their time to research, study on it. They did the work. Basically, it does not take, a super smart person to be able to complete that coursework. They were able to have the monies to afford them that. And of course, it's not for everyone, but I mean, like those super elite individuals, like that Bondi lady, man, I wanted to slap her. I still want to slap her. But anyhow, for everyone who has been speaking when we were in our split up group, Clint, what you shared, and again, I say that it's only those individuals that this whole system was created for. Right now it's heavy duty into the Epstein horrible stuff, okay? And the fact of the matter is that, as Pastor Moore was sharing about the history of our brothers and sisters, our Black brothers and sisters, you know what? That's been happening since the beginning. Let's not make or forget about all of the Black children, women, men, our indigenous brothers and sisters as well, that have been just stolen, kidnapped, raped, murdered, etc. Because that's what's true. Okay? And until people are ready to listen to those ugliness, to that uncomfortable reality, until people are willing to say, you know what? We're stocked up with whatever it is that we need, and we're not going to spend our monies on anything but help each other out. We got to keep our hope alive, guys. Our creator is love. And yes, somebody said, and I think it was Sister Jade, like Bad Bunny said, I didn't see his show or anything, so I don't, but he said something to the fact of the greatest, greater than hate is love, right? And that is true. Love, 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 love for the sake of love. In Romans 13:8, it says, let no doubt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another. For whoever loves others has fulfilled the law. The commandments, you shall not commit adultery, so on and so forth. But the bottom line is, love your neighbor as yourself, because love doesn't harm. Love doesn't harm. Love loves. And so we thank the Lord God Almighty, creator Creator, for breath of life, for our every heartbeat, for the hearts that He's given each of us here, and even those who are not with us right now, and those who taught us to love and to do and to give as best as we can with what we can, however it is that we can. It doesn't make sense, but so with that, I just want to say, you know what? I don't know what you're